Hey writers, Ingrid Sundberg here, and this is Ingrid's Notes, where I am giving insights into creative writing process and craft. And in this video, I want to break down the 11 beats of story structure for arc plot, also known as the hero's journey, also known as goal-oriented plot, right? I did a whole other video where I talked about how this has a ton of different names. So today, we're going to use this chart. And in it is the Aristotelian mountain triangle story shape, and along it are 11 beats, and each one of those beats is a story point. And I'm going to walk us through each one of those story points, what happens, and why it's important. If you want a copy of this chart, there is a link in the description. So let's walk through it. Number 1, the ordinary world. Our story needs to start somewhere where we get sort of a foundation for what regular life is like for our protagonist. So the hero's life is established in his or her everyday life. Who are they both emotionally, physically? How do they interact with the people around them? What do they think they want, or where do they think their life is headed just as the story begins, before something comes to change everything? So in Harry Potter, this is life under the stairs. In The Hunger Games, it's, her hunting in the district before the reaping happens. What is regular, status quo, ordinary life? Beat 1. Beat 2, the call to adventure. Now in screenwriting speak, this is often called the inciting incident. And I like that term because it is an incident, a specific thing that incites your character into action. This is what shakes up the whole story. This is something happens in the hero's life to cause him or her to take action. If this event didn't happen, your entire story wouldn't happen. There would be a whole other trajectory to your character's life. So this in Harry Potter is learning that wizards exist and that he himself might actually be able to do magic. Or it's the reaping in the Hunger Games. Number 3. This is the refusal of the call, the refusal of whatever the inciting incident, that call to action sort of asked the character to do. Now, sometimes people skip this, but I think this is a really important moment to explore what really makes us human. So this is when the hero refuses the call, hoping his or her life will go back to normal, but it will not. And this is the key part here. They want their life to go back to normal. Overall, we are not people who want adventure and excitement, or even, happiness. What we really are striving for isn't happiness, it's comfort, it's the status quo, it's just life that is normal and not disrupted. And so this is a beat in which something happens to disrupt things and we start to deny it. We're like, no, I've dealt with that. That's not really something I have to deal with. It's not a real issue. They're refusing that call to really take action and change their life. 4. This is crossing the first threshold. This is the story structure beat that moves us from Act 1 into Act 2. So they've been refusing the call, your main character, and this is something that ups the stakes, changes the situation, and really says, nope, you cannot ignore this anymore. So the hero pushes to a point of no return, where he or she must answer the call and begin their journey. So in the Hunger Games, this is when she gets on the train and she starts going to the capital, right? I can't run away with Gale anymore. I can't do something else. I'm headed towards the capital. So, and think of this also as moving from that ordinary life your character is in and pushing into what is called the special world, or the extraordinary world. It's something that's different for your character. So if you're not writing something big and dramatic, maybe something more internal, like this could just simply be a relationship with a new person. It is something that pushes them into a new sense of surroundings and a sense of self. Or it could be a physically new sense of surroundings and sense of self, right? That's going to Oz, for example. Now this is the beginning of Act 2, this next sort of sequence. It's a several beats within a sequence, which is number 5, called Tests, Allies, and enemies. And when you're watching a film, this is kind of like that fun and games section that you're gonna have snippets from when you see the preview for a film. Basically, this is the area where the underlying premise that you've created in your story gets to play out a little bit, right? We've moved from our point of no return into the special world, and now we get to explore it. So the journey through the special world is full of obstacles, right? Full of tests, allies, enemies that challenge your character. Those can be both emotional challenges, internal challenges, or they can be physical challenges. So this is a fun time in terms of story drafting and storytelling. Number 6, and this is another one that people tend to kind of forget about or miss, and that is the midpoint, which is really crucial. If you have that saggy, boring middle where you're like, I don't know what to do, it's because you don't have a strong midpoint. So here's what happens at your midpoint. The energy of the story shifts dramatically. New information is discovered, for positive or for negative, that commits the hero to his or her journey. Now, that might be a little confusing because a minute ago I said, well, there was a point of no return before, right? When we moved into Act 2. This is the true point of no return. So let's take the Hunger Games, for example, right? The initial plot point that moved us into Act 2 was when she got in the train and went to the Capitol. But there's all this section that is tests, allies, enemies, which is the training. But the actual midpoint of the story is the second she gets put in the games. The stakes are way up here now. There is no point of return. She better fight or die. Another really good example of an awesome midpoint that really shifts the entire energy of a story is Jurassic Park. That's the moment that the lights go out, or the electricity, goes out, and the dinosaurs get out. So the next beat, which again is sort of a sequence, is number 7, approaching the inmost cave. And this is similar to test, allies, and enemies, but now it's reacting to what happened in the midpoint. We're taking whatever that new revelation, energy change in the midpoint is, and now we're playing out the obstacles that are sort of the fallout of that are the result of that revelation. So the hero gets closer to reaching his or her goal, right? They have a goal, they're headed towards that, and must prepare for the upcoming battle, emotional or physical. Now this next beat, number 8, is one of my absolute favorite beats, and one of the most important beats. I keep saying they're all important. That's because they are important for different reasons. And this is inmost cave or crisis. A lot of times as we're moving forward through our story, we're trying really hard to get to the climax, that final end point in our story. And we miss or kind of glaze over the crisis, which is such a huge and important part. It really relates to the rest of the film or book. So the hero hits rock bottom during their crisis. She fails miserably and must come to face with her deepest fear. This causes self-revelation. And that's why I absolutely love this beat, because it is the moment when the character is no longer just reacting to what's happening around them, but they must actually look into themselves. Their biggest fear happens, and now they have to realize how they are stopping themselves from getting what they want. It's usually like the emotional scene where you cry, and it's usually pretty awesome. So that also usually is the act break at the end of Act 2 and moves us into Act 3 as we finish out the story. So the next one, number 9, is the final push. This is where the hero uses information learned in the crisis and makes a new plan to achieve their goal. So whatever they discover about themselves, about how they have to change or grow, whatever revelation they have, how they have to transform, they use that information to create a new plan. They realize, oh, I've been going along this trajectory to try to get what I want, but that is not working. They have their crisis that reveals something new that they didn't understand before, and now they're putting that knowledge into effect. This is the section where they create the new plan, and this is leading us up to the climax. which is of course the next beat. Number 10 is seizing the sword, the climactic battle, that final altercation, either internal or external. There is a feeling when we talk about structure, it's always sort of external things like seizing the sword and killing the dragon, but sometimes that is also just an emotional thing that your character is going through, that they have to actually battle something within themselves. So this is where the hero faces his foe in a final climactic battle. The information learned during the crisis is essential to beating this foe. This is what it means when your character is growing. They have to actually learn something from that crisis, become a new person in order to win in the climactic battle endpoint. And then the last bit is just after the climax has happened, after the battle has happened, we have sort of an energy of moving back to the status quo, which is the return with the elixir. And elixir is, a holding place for whatever it is that they felt either they were trying to get, so it may be the actual goal, or it may be something internal, right? Something that they've learned about themselves, not what they wanted, but what they needed and what they learned that they truly needed. So the hero returns home with the fruits of her adventure. She begins her life as a changed person, now living in the new ordinary world. So this is the return home. This is the idea that this could be, right? The hero's journey is a circle. You're returning back to where you began, but you're not the same person anymore. What you've learned, what your character learned along this journey has changed them. Or sometimes the world has actually changed around them. It's a sense of awareness of the world, right? It might be that I thought the world was one way and now I'm learning justice does not prevail. So I'm returning home with new knowledge, something that is different. So they're a new changed person, and that is where our story ends. So again, that is the 11 beats of story structure for arc plots. You can again see that all on this chart. It says all of the beats here, and it also lists from different sources what different people call these beats, which I love because it really helps you see how you and how they think about each beat differently, which will give you a little more material in which to sort of think about how you might apply this beat if you are using this type of structure. So you can again get this chart in the description with the link. This is Ingrid's Notes. Please subscribe if you're enjoying these videos, and you can also find me online at Ingrid's Notes on Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook, all of the fabulous social media-ness. Have a great day.